Here we go with our new segment, Week 1 Panic Meter. As the team, how concerned are you after Week 1 on these specific teams? Tristan, I want you to answer these for me. Let's start out. This is going to be on a scale of 1 through 10, 10 being the most panicked you've ever been. The house is on fire. You have to run out, grab all of your belongings, and get out. Level 1 is couldn't care less. You know, you're just sitting on the dock of the bay, and you're relaxing, eating a box of Hush Puppies, okay?
Just like Otis Redding.
Let's start off with, and we mentioned them earlier, we talked about them a little bit, the Cincinnati Bengals after their abysmal performance against the New England Patriots that they were favored by 9.5 points.
Might be a little hyperbolic. Bengals fans might come at me. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are putting the panic meter firmly at 8 to 9, okay? Mainly because the absence of Joe Mixon was really felt. That fumble when they were about to score really turned the game around. They could not run the football. The defense didn't look good. Lou Anarumo is usually a defensive wizard. They struggled. The main thing is, Ryan, it was the Patriots. Maybe they're going to be better than we thought, but even if they're better than we thought, the roster is still terrible. The Patriots roster is atrocious, and they manhandled the Bengals. This was one of those games. There was really not any stretch of that game where you felt like Cincinnati was going to win. The Patriots thoroughly dominated. The Bengals always get off to a slow start because of the schedule, because of the offseason issues, because of the Joe Burrow injury, all the drama. I don't know if they can get off to a slow start this year and survive. Obviously, it's fixable, but they're not leaving that game feeling good or being like, oh, it's week 1. I promise you they're concerned. It's firmly an 8, at least.
Couldn't agree with you more. They left a lot to be desired. Let's move on to the New York Giants and the biggest waste of money with Daniel Jones that there's ever been in the NFL, if you ask me. This team looked pretty terrible as well. Malik Neighbors had a couple of flashes of like decent receiver material, but ultimately Daniel Jones threw the ball to the other team more than he did Malik Neighbors, I believe. So tell me your panic meter on Daniel Jones if you want to. That's fine too, but the New York Giants organization in a whole.
This is interesting because I'm going to say the New York Giants, they are panicking. They're in an 8. However, you could say it's a 1 because this is probably what you expected, right? Like, did anyone expect anything different? I know we didn't. I don't know.
I did pick the Giants to win because I thought this was going to be one of those crazy upsets and Malik Neighbors was going to go off. But,
and you are such an honorable character. I totally forgot. I was going to let it slide. Yeah, and now, I can't laugh at you. My picks were awful this week. Tune in later this week to see our week 2 picks and our week 1 reaction. Like that plug. Okay. So it's an 8. They're panicking, but I think it's just kind of what they expected. How much can you panic when you know you're awful? Like if you have a car that doesn't run and you go in, you try to crank it and it doesn't start. Do you go, oh no, it won't start? Or do you just say, yeah, just like yesterday.
How did this happen?
Exactly. So it's an 8, but it's also a 1 because this is who New York is. Get Daniel Jones out of town. Everyone's fired. Everyone's fired. Dayball, you had the one good season. Congratulations. You're gone. Yeah. Joe Shane, you're gone.
Come back over to Buffalo. Let's be the OC again because we did great when you were the OC and you unlocked Josh Allen in a way nobody else has been able to do before. I agree with you on the Giants. When your muffler's dragging the ground, you can't expect that car to just run tip-top. Daniel Jones has to go. You have to just eat it and say, we sucked it up. We paid him too fast. It was the fastest pay I've ever seen for a mediocre quarterback there was.
Mediocre is generous. Bad.
Very bad. Let's move on to the next team, and let's also talk about their quarterback, the Carolina Panthers, man. We thought, and you even said it in our preseason predictions, they can't be that bad again, right? They have to be better. I don't know that they will be. Because after this performance, oh my gosh, Bryce Young looked worse than he did the last game he played in the NFL.
Panic meter for the Carolina Panthers is a 7. I might be being generous. Yeah.
That's very generous because I'm up at 8.5 to 9.
It's similar to what I said with the Giants. It could be a 10. I'm putting it 7 because they knew they were going to be awful. I don't think that they thought they were going to go in there and lose 47-10. Bryce Young, 13 for 30 for 161 yards, 2 interceptions, a 32 quarterback rating. Derek Carr had a 142. Bryce Young is not an NFL quarterback. I am starting to doubt he will be the quarterback all 17 games. Like, Andy Dalton might end up being the starter for this team. It's bad. We knew it was going to be bad, but oh God, it's so much worse than we expected.
5 turnovers. The Panthers had 5 turnovers.
He can't play quarterback, Ryan.
No, he can't. This is the most stark contrast between Alabama quarterbacks. I mean, you had Jalen Hurts, you had Tua, and we worried about Tua. He seems to have turned the page with a couple of jiu-jitsu lessons. I don't think that there's anything Bryce Young can do to regain his footing in the NFL. Tell me what you would do if you were the coach for the Carolina Panthers right now. Would you pull Bryce Young at some point this season? I don't even know who their backup is.
I would probably get a bottle of liquor and the nearest shotgun if I was the head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
I think that's already happened.
Yeah, man. And by the way, for anyone listening for the first time or not unaware, we're from Alabama. Like, we've grown up lifelong Alabama fans. I love Bryce Young. He was incredible in college. He carried us. He is a terrible NFL quarterback. Ryan, Bryce Young makes Mac Jones look like Tom Brady.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a big statement.
Would you rather have Mac Jones or Bryce Young?
Mac Jones, yeah. There is no worse quarterback. I would rather have Daniel Jones than Bryce Young.
At least he can do something every now and then.
At least he can throw the ball and not take a sack or throw an interception.
It's rough in Carolina.
Bryce Young looks like a high schooler quarterback on the NFL field.
Yeah. How long before he's benched?
Week 5.
It sucks because he's a young quarterback, so it's like you want to ride with him. But I think the experiment's over, right?
Well, yeah, I do. And also, I just want to, I know we haven't done this on any other team, we got to be quick, but I just want to point out that they play the Chargers, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Bears, the Falcons, the Commanders, and the Broncos in like their next 5 to 6 games. Tell me where you have a W at all after this performance. It can't get that much better. Like, I was expecting today, even if they lost, they would have kept it within, like, I even said in the show, I think I picked them to kind of finish close, within like a touchdown. The Saints stomped a hole in them, turned around, stomped another hole in them, and then the second string stomped a hole in them. Yeah. Like, it was terrible.
Unless Carolina has any games scheduled in Gotham City where Bane might show up with a charge to detonate the field, I don't think they're winning. And that would be a tie.
The Falcons. All right. I'm a little on the fence.
So it's your segment now.
I'm just saying. Fuck with you. I want to know what you think, but also I'm torn because I do think that Kirk Cousins played better than I thought he would coming off of that type of injury at his age. But the Falcons still lost 18-10 to the Steelers with Justin Fields. Where's your panic meter? Tell me.
For the Falcons or for the Steelers?
For the Falcons.
So Falcons, even though I said they would disappoint everyone, I thought they would win this game. Panic meter's at a 5. Like,
middle of the road.
I think you're worried, but I wouldn't say you're panicked, right? Definitely not the way you wanted things to go, but you come out of that game as a coach thinking we can improve, we have some things to work on, we have some talent, we can get the team better, right?
Well, yeah, and one thing I'm going to be looking at is you got Kirk Cousins to throw the ball 26 times. You only handed the ball off to Bijan Robinson 18.
Yeah.
You got to increase the workload because when Bijan had the ball, he did pretty good. Why are we putting the game on Kirk Cousins' shoulders when it's 18-10? Like, it's not like they were ahead like the Saints were to the Panthers. It was a game where you could still manage the run game, manage the clock, and not have to utilize Kirk Cousins in a 2-minute offense style. Like, he had 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. Like, he was not in a position to succeed in this game because I don't think they utilized the run enough.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think it just got away from them. 2 things that stand out if you look at the box score, like the 2 stats that scream to me. Again, one of my favorite stats to go to because I just think it tells you a lot. Third down efficiency, whereas the Steelers were 8 for 17, 47%. The Falcons were 2 for 9. So 22% on third downs. And the other one, 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and 1 lost fumble. That's what swings it. In a close game, 3 turnovers when the other team has none, that kills you, man. That's it. The Steelers had a fumble, but they didn't lose it. So I think the Falcons come out of that game saying, Kirk is limited. He's obviously still recovering, but he was out there. He played. We've got some playmakers. We need to have a more balanced offense. We need to increase Bijan's workload. And really, we just got to clean up the mess. You know what I mean? If we can not turn the football over and we can be a little bit more efficient, stay ahead of the sticks and convert third downs, we're going to be a team that can win this division. Luckily, we're in the NFC South, so concerned but not freaking out for sure.
I think there's still a lot of season left to be played, and I think the Falcons still finish on top of their division. Let's move on to the Tennessee Titans. We touched on them briefly. We talked about Will Levis a little bit, but they did lose in really terrible fashion because they let the Bears come back and beat them. They let the Bears come back and not only beat them, but remain, I think, scoreless, right, in the second half?
Yeah, I believe
Close
so.
to scoreless. Where's your panic meter on the Titans? And obviously, you don't think Will Levis is the franchise guy. Do you think that's the remedy to fix this organization?
I don't think going away from Will Levis this season is going to change anything. I would ride Will Levis, but I think the panic meter out of that game is 7 because all I think that did is I believe that game solidified the fact that we need a franchise quarterback. There was belief, at least, internally they might have known already. I actually was holding out hope that Will Levis might be able to be, obviously not a star, but a serviceable quarterback. That's, I think, out the window after today. And I really don't want to overreact over one pick, but you cannot make those kind of mistakes. When you make those type of mistakes in a game where the other team's offense cannot score, then how can I trust you to not make those mistakes when we got to play Kansas City? Or if by some miracle we were in the playoffs? You're not really panicking at a 7 because of your team. You're panicking at a 7 because the guy we thought we might could get by with is going to have to be, our second string next year. We need a quarterback. We're at a 7.
I do agree with you that the Titans are at a 7, but I do think that Will Levis is better than you give him credit for. Let's see what the rest of the season holds for the Titans. Let's move on to our last team to panic over, the Cleveland Browns. Oh boy, I cannot wait to hear your panic meter on this, but also just how wrong a lot of Cleveland fans have been. That they've been in the comment section. They've been saying, "Oh, Deshaun, don't worry about the massages. It's okay because Deshaun's back. He threw for 45 attempts. He only got 24 of them, and they only ran the ball 12 times. They ran the ball 12 times. Why would you believe that the Cleveland Browns is not a 5-alarm fire right now?"
They are. My panic meter for the Cleveland Browns is at a strong 10. I mean, this is Spinal Tap, Ryan, and we're turning to 11 if you're Cleveland. Right. We are not a large channel by any means, and the amount of comments I have seen this offseason talking about, you're wrong about Deshaun. Deshaun was good last year. Deshaun's going to prove you wrong. And I'm really not meaning this to be mean. I'm seriously. Why? I really don't know. Are you just that hopeful? I really do think Cleveland fans that were tricking themselves into believing in Deshaun are upset, and I don't blame them. I would be too, because you have such a good roster, or at least you thought. You did let the Cowboys hang 33 on you. We'll talk about the defense another day. Deshaun Watson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. We said preseason, he has not been good since 2019. Why? If it was any other player on any other team that you didn't have a connection to, you would not say, hey, this dude that was good in 2019, he's going to come back and be awesome. It's not going to happen. Deshaun Watson is terrible, Ryan. He not only is he a bad quarterback, he's a liability.
24 for 45, 169 yards, 2 interceptions, 6 sacks, and 1 touchdown.
Yeah. And the numbers are alarming, but even if you just take the numbers away and I just gave you Cleveland offensive tape, you don't have to be an all-22 guru to watch him play and realize this dude sucks at football. I don't know what happened. I mean, I do know what happened because there was a lot of litigation. But besides that, I honestly think maybe just him being away from football for so long. I mean, he was basically out for 2.5 years. You just don't come back from that. We've been saying that from the start. We started our show. Our first episode ever of our first episode of podcast was us talking about Deshaun Watson returning as a football player.
Do you want to know what their third down percentage was?
My favorite stat. Give it to me.
13%. 2 of 15 on third down conversions.
Breaking news, hard to win football games like that.
Very, very difficult.
I think you're panicking too because Kevin Stefanski is a good coach. You've got a good staff. You've got a good players. But the owner went out and made what is objectively the worst trade in NFL history to get one of the worst starting quarterbacks. I mean, Ryan, if I said, would you rather have Deshaun Watson or Daniel Jones? Let's be honest, that's close. Like, you're thinking about it. There's not an easy answer there.
Yeah, there's not. I would rather not answer that. I plead the fifth on that.
And that's the man they gave a fully guaranteed contract to.
Rather have Baker Mayfield back.
Exactly. And that's why I kind of don't feel bad for him. I like Kevin Stefanski.
Tom Brady
his
says
fault, but
that Nick Chubb is the reason why the Browns were not doing good today. Tom, got news for you.
Could Nick Chubb throw the ball? I didn't know that.
And we don't even know what Nick Chubb is going to be when he comes back. But I'll tell you this, with 12 carries, you won't know what he's like either.
Right.
Like, I don't care. You have Jerome Ford, who is a really talented running back. We saw at the end of last season when he had to take over for Chubb.
Chubb went out early last year. Yeah.
He did great. Why did we not utilize him more? Like, we all knew that the Browns would be that bad. You know, they would be bad. At least you and I thought that.
Actually, I think you picked the over on them, so...
Well, like, okay, if we're just going to pull up receipts. But I never thought that the Browns would be this bad. Like, I did not think that this defense would let the Cowboys hang 33 on them, especially after the ink hadn't even dried on Dak Prescott's check today.
Yeah. I agree. I was surprised at how bad the Cleveland defense was, but honestly, I think it's one of those scenarios that it's not even that your defense is bad. It's just at a certain point in the football game, they're human beings. They understand, dude, that fucking quarterback ain't going to help us. You know what I mean? So once you know, it's like, hey, we've made a couple stops, but our offense can't score a point. So you just kind of start to slack off. I don't even know if this is an indictment on the defense. It's just an indictment on the quarterback and knowing we can't win games with Deshaun Watson under center. We cannot do it. And I'm telling you guys, I don't know how much control the owner has. I mean, obviously, he's the one that made the trade. Stefanski never wanted to do it. The owner's the one that ran Baker Mayfield out of town because, God forbid, all he did was win them their first playoff game in decades. Couldn't have that. I don't know if the owner will allow it, but I promise this is why they went and got Jameis Winston. And if they're smart, they would start him next week. I know he's not great either. He's better than Deshaun Watson. He is. And anyone who thinks otherwise is delusional or you're just straight lying to yourselves at this point.
I would take the multiple interceptions from Winston over the incompetence of Deshaun Watson.
At least Winston will give me some touchdowns.
Sound the alarm, grab the fire extinguisher, call the fire department, somebody load Deshaun Watson up onto the truck, get him a masseuse, and send him packing, and bring in Winston. I agree with you completely. It's a 10, it's a 12, it's a 15. All the bells, all the whistles, sound them right now. The Browns are a dumpster fire week 1.